I'm pretty sure we started with this finger here. And I just immediately regretted everything. Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome to my channel. Most of the times, whenever I post a video, it's because somebody's asked me the same question enough times that I'm like, I should just make a coin off of this. I got my fingers yadded. And I want to talk about it. I've been thinking about finger tattoos for a while. I think they're super cute. You know, there is a lot of stigma around it. It is one of the most controversial tattoos you can get, other than like neck tattoos and face tattoos and whatever. But I was thinking about it for a while, and then I planned to go to Pittsburgh to visit my mom about a month ago, and she was like, hey, we should get finger tattoos. I think they're so cute. And I'm like, oh my god, we should. I love them. I'm so glad that you agree with me on this. And mind you, about like maybe 5 years ago, my mom was telling me not to get tattoos, and now here we are going and getting finger tattoos together. The way we have evolved. But anyways, it was just kind of an idea. You know, we're bouncing ideas back and forth. We call a couple different shops the week before. We're like, hey, who can we get in with? You know, I want someone reputable. I went to a tattoo shop in Pittsburgh for my first tattoo, I think it was, my second one, and now it is all covered up about a grand later. So don't want to make that mistake again. There are definitely a lot of sketchier artists in big cities because it's more of a selection. We're calling around and checking out people's work, checking out their Instagrams. So the day of the tattoos, what we did, and which I think was really helpful, was we took some paper and traced out our hands and then went on Pinterest and Instagram and all the places that you look for tattoos, and we drew them out onto our trace of our hand to see what they would look like on our actual hands. You know, I drew little like nails and the little lines on my fingers to really make it realistic, but I did it on both hands, and I think that was super helpful to envision and lay out where it is, because I have a hard time walking into a tattoo shop and making the idea right there, because I want some time to think about it, just a little bit of time, just maybe a couple hours to think about it. So I pulled some inspiration off of Pinterest, and I took little pieces of each thing that I liked and put it onto the paper, and once I liked what I had, we left and we went to the tattoo shop. So the whole time my mom is like, I'm so nervous about this, like I don't know if I want to do this, it's gonna hurt so bad. And I'm like, shut up, like it's gonna be fine, it can't hurt that bad, you know, I have my foot tattooed, it can't hurt that bad. And then we get to the shop and they're like, okay, it'll be about an hour wait, like you guys can just sit here and hang out, like we'll get your stuff printed out into stencils. And then I'm like, oh my god, I'm a little nervous. Perhaps just a little bit nervous. But not that much. I'm just, you know, it's getting to me a little bit. I'm like, oh, tattoos. I'm getting a tattoo today on my hands. Oh shit. They take my mom downstairs. It was like a 2-story tattoo shop, and they take my mom downstairs. She starts before I do, so then I'm just sitting there by myself and I gotta think about life. They take me into the room. I actually got tattooed by the owner, so I knew she was good. You know, I'm showing her my inspiration pictures first because hand tattoos are known to fade. I am not driving back to Pittsburgh, I'm not flying back to Pittsburgh to get my hand tattoos touched up and redone and whatever. It's not worth it to me. And the style that I like is thicker and is bulkier. I don't like the minimalist hand tattoos because I see all the time they just fade, and I don't like that. I think another good thing that I did was showing her my inspiration pictures so she knew what I was going for, because a lot of artists, I'm sure, would be hesitant to do a bulkier style like what I have unless I specifically ask for that. I brought in my hand drawings, I brought in, you know, my inspiration pictures, and we get to work. I'm pretty sure we started with this finger here. And I just immediately regretted everything. I did not know that it was going to hurt as bad as it did. Why didn't anyone tell me that finger tattoos are the worst pain you'll ever experience? That hurt so bad. I can't even describe, well, I can. It was the worst tattoo pain I've ever experienced. It was seriously shooting pains up my arm because it was so painful. The closer that I got to my nail, the more that it hurt. It was like I could feel her like tattooing my nail bed is what it felt like. I think the worst part of the entire experience was just hearing it hit my bone. Like, I do have thin ass fingers. I am a little girl. I have very, very, very skinny, bony fingers. For everyone, this may not be the case, but I could literally hear her penetrate the skin and then go into the bone. Penetrate the skin, go into the bone. Like, it would go, like, I could hear her hitting the bone. So I bet my bones are yatted, which is gonna be cool whenever I'm dead. And it just burned so bad. I think that's the best way that I can describe this type of pain, was it just burned. My favorite part about tattoos, in which I always forget, is that it starts to numb up in an area after a while. After you're doing extensive damage to skin over and over and over, your body starts to numb that area. And it sucked because it was, as soon as she was done with that finger, it was numb. So then she moved to the next one, and then as soon as she was done with that one, it was numb. They just weren't big enough and intricate enough to completely numb up like in the middle of it. It was about, by the time that she was done with it, it was numb. But that 30 seconds of the last line work, you know, when they're going over the old lines, I mean, that shit sucks. It was numb, which was really nice. I think it was just so much trauma on my hands that it just started like going numb. But definitely I would say whenever you are getting upwards on the top of the finger, that is the worst. You know, it sucks. By the time that we got to this hand, we did the top of this, and I was seriously this close to telling her, I don't even want this because it hurt that bad. I've never tapped out of a tattoo. I mean, I've cried, but I've never actually been like, maybe I don't need that part of the tattoo that bad. Maybe that part isn't that important. But if she would have seriously just like filled up the gun with more ink, like in between this one and the bottom, I would have told her to stop, but she just went straight from that one to the next. So what was done was done. I don't think anybody talks enough about how painful finger tattoos are. And I thought that the healing process of these would be more important than any other healing process on any of my tattoos ever. It is hard because I scraped off the corner of this tattoo simply by hitting it on a box at work. It is very fragile, but once they were healed, they're in there for good. You know, you ain't playing around about this. But if you can see the side of that finger right there, that's just where I lost it. Just a little bit. Just lost it a little bit. But that's all that I really lost on them. They stayed really good. She did a fucking awesome job. She nailed exactly what I wanted. The exact style that I wanted. I definitely do want to add like little dots around the cuticles, just as I finished saying how bad it hurts to get the tops of your fingers tattooed. But I do want some more little details to them. I wanted to go easy on my mom because if I would have yatted every single one of my fingers, she probably would have freaked out. So I had to keep it a little bit simple, but definitely like some shading and the sun and the moon in the future. But I think something else that I didn't prepare for after I got my fingers tattooed was the backlash. You know, a lot of my family was just like, oh, is that henna? And then like 3 weeks later they were like, that's not henna, is it? I think the most disrespectful thing that has been said to me, and I don't even think people mean it disrespectfully when they say it, but it just comes off that way to me, is saying, you know, do you worry about like getting a job whenever you have finger tattoos? Do you worry that like you're not going to be able to get a certain job, or are you worried you're not going to be able to do a certain photo shoot because of your tattoos? And I think of it as the complete opposite. In job sense, I say that if you're a company that discriminates against tattoos and wouldn't hire me because of my tattoos, that's not somewhere that I want to minimize myself to work at. I don't care how much it pays. I'm happier expressing myself on my skin and looking cool as fuck while doing it, that I don't need that job. You know, it's 2021. We need to grow the fuck up and get over this whole tattoo stigma. But also when people say like, don't you worry about your modeling and everything, I think that people work with me because of my tattoos. People work with me because I bring something different to the table in the way that I look. If seriously it was such a problem, they make so many different makeup cover-ups that would easily hide these. I mean, just a little dabs of a certain type of concealer would easily cover these. So I'm really not worried. So nobody else should be either. So if you're watching this video because you think you want to get some finger tattoos and you were thinking about it, you want to know the experience, I will sum it up and say it hurt like a bitch, but it was worth it because I look so cool. If you really want them, go get them because they're cool as fuck. And everyone that I've ever met that got finger tattoos is like, yeah, they're cool as fuck. So do it. We live on a floating rock in space. Go get your fingers tattooed.